Good morning, members. This will be roll call for the 17th day of session, February the 5th, 2025, of the 68th Wyoming Legislature. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Eklund, Erickson, Filer, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker.
Okay, we'll leave it. We have a few members. It doesn't appear to be a committee, but there are a few members that are still not here with us. So, fellow members and guests, our prayer will be led today by Mr. Jim Hamilton. He is the retired state director for Fellowship of Christian Athletes from Pinedale, Wyoming. Please stand.
Really quick, as I was driving from Pinedale yesterday, I was reminded of a comment that a former governor of Wyoming made to me many years ago when I was starting FCA. He said, "Jim, just want to remind you, and I know you've all heard this before, but Wyoming is just one community with long streets." And so I guess that makes us all neighbors. So would you pray with me? Father God, the creator and sustainer of everything, I pray that the virtues of faith, hope, and love would abide in each person here. Father, transform each person here by developing in them an unshakable confidence in you and commitment to acting on it. Help them to trust that their deepest desires for our state and its citizens will be realized, and that all of life's circumstances will turn out for your best. I ask today that you would encourage these men and women to be strong and of good courage, so they will not be afraid of the challenges they face today. Help them to realize and trust that you are the one who goes before them, and you will not leave nor forsake them. Empower the men and women of this room to have a love for you that overflows into a love for others, our neighbors. Help them to understand when they love you, they have the power to love others. And when they love others, lives will be changed by the decisions they make today. Help them to be always aware of your presence and working in their lives in the service of the state. I pray that you will bless them and their families, give them wisdom and the courage to ask for it. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Fellow members and guests, and thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Fellow members and guests, please join me in the salute to our flag. Well, thanks for not having to be told not to be reaching out and grabbing a hold of each other this morning. It looks like we've gained a lot of people. There we go, a little fist bump, stuff like that, maybe a high five, air fives. We've gained a lot of members back here today, and I'm very thankful to see you guys recovering and getting better. But we want to stay on that track and that vein so that we can accomplish the work that we've got before us. So give you guys a moment to say hey, howdy, hey, and we will start. Riggins is out. The only one that could be is Landon, and I haven't heard from him. Yeah, he told me he was sick yesterday, and it's used him out. Yeah. The only other one I would know of. All right, members, I think we're ready to get up and get the show rolling. Chief Clerk, if you want to finish calling the roll, we'll go.
Andrew? Brown Landon? Locke? Weber? 59 present, 3 excused, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Journal Committee report.
Your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of February 4th, 2025 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Jarvis and Posey.
Thank you for that. Messages from the Senate, none. Reports from standing committees, none. Reintroduction of Senate files. We are at that order of business of introduction of bills. Okay. Yep. We are at that order of business of Senate files on let's see, introduction. I got to get back, sorry. There it is. We are at that order of business of Senate files on first reading. First Senate file for our consideration is Senate File 69.
Senate File 69, sponsored by Revenue.
First reading of the bill.
Homeowners Tax Protection Exemption.
Senate File 69 will be assigned to our Committee Number 2, Appropriations. And that concludes our introductions. You're welcome. Representative Williams,
Mr. Speaker, privilege.
please.
Mr. Speaker, in our South Gallery this morning, I'd like to introduce Greg Stump, Newcastle Public Works Supervisor, and Mark Lindstrom, Town of Upton Supervisor. Their presence here today reminds me of the impacts my vote and our votes have on our communities. Thank you for being here and welcome to the House.
Thank you for being here, both of you, and welcome to the House. Appreciate you being here. Oh, okay. All right, we are at that order of business on bills on second reading. The first bill for our Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. According to Rule 7-3, I would like to lay back House Bill 273 and House Bill 72 for one additional day.
Hearing no objection. We have an objection. Yeah, both of these bills have a tremendous number of amendments, so that was the reasoning, I think, behind setting them back for one day. So we can either discuss, we need to get on to the budget bill by 10 o'clock, so if we can set these two back as the privilege of the body, but it is entirely the body's direction. Do you wish to remain in objection to having these two laid back for one day, or if you do, we'll discuss that.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Yes, I still stand with my objection on House Bill 273 specifically.
This is a debatable motion, so we can debate this two separate times. It'll be like second reading amendment rules, or bills moved, bill amendments rules, and so if the bringer of the objection would like to get up and explain their objection, and then we can go ahead and go forth with the rules. Representative Williams, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to object to the laid back of House Bill 273. Just like a couple of other bills that are on second reading, from what I see right now, there's only 2 amendments that are pretty brief and brought by the same sponsor. So I would just prefer to proceed business as usual.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? First time, Representative Provenza for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are 2 amendments right now. There's 2 more in the hopper, so I can drop those as well, and we can debate this issue. I would just ask, I would like to get to the budget body, and that's all my intention is. We'll still hear the bill tomorrow. It'll still get its process. It'll still get to the other side of the hall with plenty of time. There's no concern about that. Just wanted to speed this process along and make sure that we get to the other bills. I don't know that they are going to have the same amount of debate, but that's up to you, I guess. Thank you.
Any others for their first time? Second time? Well, this is a simple majority, so this just takes, we can do this with a voice vote. So, any others for their second time? Seeing none? Members, you are voting on the objection to removal of these 2 amendments, specifically 273 from the second reading list. All those in favor and support the objection signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment, the objection has not been supported. These 2 bills will be held for tomorrow and rolled back for second reading. Could we please number those 2 bills again for the body's understanding? What are the 2 bills that were pulled? Bills number 72 and 273 will be rolled back 1 day for reading and direction tomorrow. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 4.
House Bill 4 is sponsored by Travel, Snowmobile Registration and User Fees, and Act relating to motor vehicles.
House Bill 4, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 83.
House Bill 83, sponsored by Representative Pendergraft. Child custody, sex offense conviction presumption, an act relating to domestic relations.
House Bill 83, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 85.
House Bill 85, sponsored by Appropriations, local approving for simulcasting, an act relating to parimutuel wagering.
House Bill 85, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 123.
House Bill 123, sponsored by Representative Nyman, adverse possession, property tax payment defense, an act relating to civil procedure.
House Bill 123, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 181.
House Bill 181, sponsored by Representative Larson Lloyd, funeral contracts, investment and bonding requirements, an act relating to insurance.
House Bill 181, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 200.
House Bill 200, sponsored by Representative Webb, parent rights amendments, an act relating to education.
House Bill 200, we do have amendments. One amendment as far as I can see right now. Nope, well, yeah. Representative Chestick, please.
My apologies, Body. Got too much going on today. So I'd like to move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 200, the substitute bill. And this is on page 7. What I'm deleting is any reference to gender ideology in this bill. And the reason for that, what I would like to do is eliminate the references to gender ideology. Gender is not an ideology. Simple, plain and simple. Gender is real. Gender is something we all know about. It's not an ideology. Ideology suggests it's political, and the definition of gender ideology, which I'm also trying to eliminate on page 8, is political statements. And I don't want to be putting into the Green Book political statements. That's all this really is. Defining gender ideology in a way that is scientifically false. It's not true. So references to defining gender ideology as permitting the false claim that biological male might, false claims, these are not true. There are a number of, I hear statements all the time about how gender is very simple. It's all about X and Y chromosomes. And if you have a Y chromosome, you're a male. If you're not, you don't. That is simply scientifically not true. Gender is determined by a lot of things. Not all Y chromosomes are the same. There's hormonal issues. There's all kinds of variations in the chromosomes. And we've come a long way since I was in 8th grade and we learned about X and Y chromosomes. We've learned a lot. Science has learned a lot since then and proves that gender is determined by lots of different things, but it's all science. And this bill, this tries to define gender ideology in a political way to make a political point. I don't think that belongs in our green books. So I am moving this bill to remove bad science from the green books and ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Any representative for their first time? First time? Representative Heiner. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, I urge you to resist this amendment. This is one of the 3 legs of this bill. It all stems from gender ideology being taught in our schools and the impact that has on the students and family values. This is where it all started from, where parents did not know what was going on in the schools as gender ideology and fluidness was being taught. And this is what this whole bill was about, to give the parents the right to know what's happening. So, and gender ideology is a very big part of this bill. So I urge you to resist this amendment.
Any other members for their first time? Representative Stivar for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this this amendment. Gender is defined at conception, if you're a male or female. On and against.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Representative Harshman for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and supporting the bill. And I just want to kind of comment on the previous testimony from the good representative from Lincoln and Sweetwater counties. As a veteran school teacher, married to a veteran school teacher, a couple daughters who are veteran school teachers, I don't know of any schools doing what was said on this floor. And again, I just remind you, Robert's Rules, Orders, Constitution, none of that requires we are 100% accurate. We make mistakes in what we say. I guess a person who went to school every day for the last 35 years, I've never heard of it. And if it is, I think we ought to tell each other where that's happening and we can go work on that. I support the bill. all that, but I just, boy, those kind of statements kind of cast and as leaders, I think our tone is really important, particularly on one of our most sacred constitutional institutions, our public schools. And so I just want to kind of say, on that, and have faith. Our kids are really doing great. Our teachers are doing great. So thank you.
Representative Webb, first time.
First for a second.
First for a second, Representative Webb. Any others for their first time? Representative, any others? Representative Campbell? First time, Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in favor of this amendment, primarily for, I would say that the arguments given, one, I taught in a couple of our high schools for several years, and this is not something that is being taught in our public schools. And two, it's biologically false. So what the claims on page 8 do are just put into statutes, opinions, beliefs that are not evidence-based, that are not biology-based, that are not fact-based. It's filling our statutes with opinions, with claims, with beliefs. And then we're asking people to abide by that as law, when it truly is just the opinion. It is not based in biology, it is not based in fact. So on in favor of the amendment.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time? Representatives for their second time? Seeing none? Representative Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for lack of a better word. I just want to reiterate that gender is determined at conception, and I am for this, or I am against this amendment and for the bill.
Any others for their second time? None? Back to the bringer. Representative Chestik, your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the science is very clear that gender is not determined at conception. It develops over time, and it's a very complex situation. I would ask this body if a high school teacher taught the correct science, taught what actually happens about hormonal influences and different different characteristics of Y chromosomes and the way gender is actually scientifically determined. Are they violating the statute now because we disagree with science? And we put that in our green books, that science doesn't count in Wyoming? I urge a no vote on this. An aye vote on the amendment, no vote on the bill.
Body, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 200. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration on House Bill 200. Yes, Representative Orff.
Privilege of the floor.
Certainly may.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to be real quick, but not very often we get people from my part of the state. I wanted to recognize one of my commissioners, good friend of mine, Commissioner South. Welcome to the House. He's in the West Gallery.
Welcome to the House. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here. Next for our consideration on House Bill 200, second reading amendment number 2, Representative Campbell. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move second reading amendment 2 to House Bill 200. We're good? Okay, thank you, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you. slight difference from the amendment previously heard. So you'll see on page 4. First, let me say I'm absolutely in favor of this bill and ensuring our parents have the right to know, about their kiddos and, are updated, whether it's during school hours, after school hours, about the well-being, the academic, physical, mental safety of our kiddos. Absolutely. Parents have the right to know, and teachers need to be notifying parents what's going on with their kiddos because they spend so much time with them. So absolutely agree with the intent of this bill. There are just a couple things that I think fall outside of that parental right scope, which most of this is housed under. If you take a look at chapter, 21.3.135, it is specific to parental and guardian notices. So you will notice on page 4, lines 9 through 13, this has nothing to do, I think this falls outside of the scope of parental rights because it's talking about what district personnel will and will not do. And so that is, I think, a policy that should be left to the school boards, to the school districts to determine, because it has really no impact or doesn't fall within that parental rights scope. So we would be deleting 9 through 13. Also on page 4, lines 15 through 19, again, this is a policy decision between the school districts and their personnel and really doesn't have anything to do within the scope of parental rights. So removing 15 through 19, as that is a policy decision between school districts and personnel. The next bit specifically that we're going to look at, and we've talked about this, is on page 8, starting at line 22. No, page 8, starting at line 1 and going through line 22 with this gender ideology. Again, this is not based on biology. We have several different chromosomal factors that have been proven in terms of your XY, XXXY. And so it is not a clear case of sex. So, and if you want to talk about, sex at conception, we are all female. That's biology. At conception, we are all female. Then things happen and there's a wash and then we have our male and female differentiation, but that happens way after conception. Gender, however, is different. It is not sex. Gender is a different issue. And we have the biology proving it is not that black and white. So one, as this is medically, biologically, scientifically false information, we'll be removing that as well. And I think that's about it. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 200. Just want to speak to their first time. Representative Stivar, first time.
On and against this amendment. When the parent turns the kids over to the school for the day, does not mean they lose their parental rights. The parent is still in charge. On and against.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Second time? Members for a second time, back to the amendment sponsor. Second time, if you'd like to have another bite at the apple, you may, and then we'll vote. Right, members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 200. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has not been adopted. Second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 200. Representative Jarvis, please.
Thank you, Speaker. So I consider this a friendly amendment, and I will explain why, but sorry. I move second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 200 and ask for your favorable consideration. So on this amendment, what I'm doing on page 2, and I had to have it explained a little more clear in the bullpen, because what I'm just doing is removing the added addition of during school hours or while the student is engaged in any activity, extracurricular activity, event, program, or function where school district personnel are responsible for the student regardless of location. And what this is saying is that the school personnel has to contact the parent during this actual activity. And so I caution everyone because there are a lot of times coaches are the only one with the students or with their players. And so that would mean that this person either has to make that phone call right there and then in front of everybody, or they have to leave the supervision of those students during that time in order to make those types of phone calls. And in the statute, I want to just draw your attention. On page 2, the already existing statute, first and foremost, has on page 2, line 11, it says shall. So that means that all of these Roman numerals have to happen. And then if you take a look at line 13, it says, notify a student's parent or guardian as soon as practical. So that has to happen already. And therefore, I don't know if it's really needed to have this additional clause put in here specifically in all these different places, because I can also tell you during the day, I don't know if I want to get a phone call while I'm at work from my teacher or my child's teacher. Not all of us work jobs that's possible to be able to take that time to have those conversations. And so the way that happens now is an email, hey, can I set up a time to talk to you as soon as possible? And they can do that during their prep periods, which is not what this is saying. This is saying that they have to do it while the activity is occurring. So this is literally asking people to leave the supervision of children to make these types of contacts with parents. So I encourage the favorable consideration of this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Speaking on the amendment. First time, seeing none. Second time, back to the amendment bringer, Representative Jarvis.
Again, I just encourage that everyone consider this amendment. Thank you.
Question being called. Members, you're being asked to decide on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 200. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. House Bill 200 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Representative Baer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In accordance with House Rule 7-3, I move to lay back House Bill 202 and House Bill 245 for one day.
Any members object to this laying back of these 2 bills, 202 and 245? Seeing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 205.
House Bill 205, sponsored by Representative Strzok, Wyoming State Fair Department, an act relating to the administration of government.
House Bill 205 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 235.
House Bill 235, sponsored by Representative Andrew, Career Technical Education, Equipment and Supplies, an act relating to public school finance.
House Bill 235 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 275.
House Bill 275, sponsored by Representative Byron, Treatment of Animals, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
House Bill 275 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 282.
House Bill 282, sponsored by Representative Locke, property tax, acquisition value, and act relating to ad valorem taxation.
House Bill 282, having been read two separate times, the question is, oh, there, I don't have that one. We have amendments. Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 282. And I think in the interest of time, I just wanted to give the sponsor of the bill the opportunity to answer this. And I think I talked to him before the amendment privately, but I think we want to all hear this. But it's really the committee of the whole amendment on page 6, which deletes half of page 6, which is the piece of the bill that has the State Board of Equalization. There were a couple little changes to the board's duties that were in statute. So 6, 7, 8, and half of 9 were deleted. So I wanted to ask again, because we had a lot of questions on this bill and debate yesterday, and I didn't hear the answer. So I just wanted to ask him, Mr. Speaker, why that amendment to take the State Board of Equalization out of this bill? And then I'll sit with that. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Locke, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And fairly quickly, the reason I took it out originally, there was some conversation on whether if we went to kind of every single house was pure acquisition value, whether there would be some changes to how the State Board of Equalization would deal with certain things. That being said, as you guys may or may not recall, I know it's a little bit complex, but when you get down into the body of the bill, there's a section, there are some sections, but there's still a number of properties depending on how they're acquired and how they're priced and the way they come into to the county clerks and to the county assessors, where fair market value still has to be calculated. And so there's still going to be a process for that, where I'm sure there's going to be people in disagreement over this topic, and it's going to have to go through our county and probably our State Board of Equalizations to make sure that those fair market value assessments continue to be in place. So because of that, I felt like removing that was the wrong thing to do, because I think they still have a role to do it there because of those cases where acquisition value, an arm's length acquisition value is not appropriate or is not in place. And so that's why I removed it.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Seeing none. Second time?
Okay.
Representative Harshman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, to wrap this up. And I appreciate that answer. And as we move forward, third reading tomorrow on a really substantial bill and change. And I guess I would just, as you reach out to your local county treasurer, they can tell you the process, but I still have not heard from one Wyomingite that was evicted from their home after 4 years of delinquent property taxes. I've not heard one, so I'm still waiting on that, and as we move to third reading. So, Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, I'll withdraw this amendment. Thank you.
The bringer has asked to withdraw the amendment. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, it is so ordered. Amendment has been withdrawn. House Bill 282, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Joint Resolution number 1.
House Joint Resolution number 1, sponsored by Capital Finance, amending Wyoming's Act of Admission for Earnings, a joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact law to amend Wyoming's Act of Admission to authorize the expenditure of earnings for the support of the common schools in Wyoming.
House Joint Resolution number 1, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration is House Joint Resolution number 3.
House Joint Resolution 3, sponsored by Representative Sherwood, support for rural schools, a joint resolution in support of rural schools in Wyoming.
House Joint Resolution number 3, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the resolution be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. That concludes our second reading. Mr. Majority Floor. We'll move on to our third reading consent list. We are at that order of business of bills on third reading and final passage. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the third reading consent list consisting of the following bills: House Bill 97, House Bill 154, House Bill 166, House Bill 188, House Bill 189, House Bill 226, House Bill 227, House Bill 242, House Bill 279, House Bill 293, and House Bill 316.
Anyone like to remove any of these bills from the consent list? Going once, twice, gone. Will the reading clerk please read these bills on the consent list?
House Bill 97, sponsored by Appropriations, Property Conveyances Near Critical Infrastructure, an act relating to Homeland Security being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 154, sponsored by Representative Brady, False Voting Amendments, an act relating to elections being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 166, sponsored by Representative Bratton, State Auditor Payment Transparency, an act relating to the administration of government being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 188, sponsored by Representative Yin, Two Families, One Nanny, an act relating to child care facilities being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 189, sponsored by Representative Lean, Harmful Communication, Minors, an act relating to crimes and offenses being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 226, sponsored by Representative Campbell, License Plate Search and Rescue Council, an act relating to motor vehicle license plates being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 227, sponsored by Representative Angelos, Executive Order, Time Limitations, an act relating to the administration of government being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 242, sponsored by Representative Tarver, Manufacturers and Dealers of New Trailers, Changes, an act relating to motor vehicles being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 279, sponsored by Representative Nicholas, Property Tax Exemptions, Order of Application, an act relating to property taxation being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 293, sponsored by Representative Bear, repealing the School Foundation Program Reserve Account, an act relating to school finance being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming. House Bill 316, sponsored by Management Council, School Finance Model Recalibration 2, an act relating to school finance being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
Having been read three separate times, the question is, shall these bills pass the House? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon, excused. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clouston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strzok. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 97, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 154, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 166, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 188, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 189, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Chestick? Aye. To no. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 226, are there any changes? Smith, aye. To no. Further changes. Brady, aye. To no. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 58 aye, 2 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 227, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 242, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 279, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Larson Lloyd? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 293, are there any changes? Campbell Elisa, aye. To no. Further changes. Larson Lloyd, aye. To no. Nicholas, aye. To no. Posey, aye. To no. Yin, aye. To no. Provenza, aye. To no. Chestick, aye. To no. Further changes. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 53 aye, 7 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 316, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bills 97, 154, 166, 188, 189, 226, 227, 242, 279, 293, and 316 have passed the House. We have some third reading regular. We are at that order of business of bills on third reading and final passage. First bill for our consideration is House Bill 132.
House Bill 132, sponsored by Representative Smith. Annual permits for specified commercial loads and act relating to motor vehicles, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 132 for your favorable consideration. Members, I apologize I didn't bring this on second reading. I thought I hit accept on the final and it didn't hit, so we didn't get to have a conversation about this. But what the bill does is it essentially is going to reduce the amount of funding that goes to our agency that oversees transportation. because the length of time for permits and how often you have to request them. In speaking with that agency and how we could make this bill not harm people, because the testimony was they didn't want to continue to have to apply for the permits, but I didn't hear that it was necessarily too much of a burden on our businesses. Financially, the concern now is how do we make the agency whole that oversees our transportation? What this does is it increases that amount from $400 to $1,000 in the amendment. And I'll just give you some quick information from this agency that oversees this. The total permits sold in the first fiscal year quarter was just a little over 31,000. And then we had permits sold for the specified commodity, which is about 6,000 permits. Multiple permits are often purchased by over 600 companies in Wyoming, and those permits are about $25 a pop. So these are folks this is their business. They keep doing these loads and needing these permits. And so there is a projected revenue from oversized permits. We're seeing that there's going to be a loss in stream of funding. So what this amendment does is make it so that we don't lose funding by allowing people to have longer term permits. That's all this is doing. These folks would be paying about this much anyway because of how often they're getting the permits. But this is just trying to make it so that the agency doesn't lose revenue when we have continued to just cut that. So I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Smith, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge a no vote on the amendment. As far as loss of funding, it will just be more efficient. Agency won't need necessarily as many FTEs to process all of these handwritten permits. Secondly, we reduce the scope of the eligible people for these permits, so that would reduce the fiscal note, and we increased the ag component, and so the fee on that is $200, and so the fee for portable buildings and trusses and panels is twice as much as what we are charging ag with $400. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Eklund, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, I heard the testimony on this, and I think it's a good bill. These folks testified, and what they wanted was a permanent registration fee, and this bill brings it. What they also said was they don't want to bypass the laws of the land, and they're willing to pay for this luxury of having a permanent fee. The fee has been reduced down. You've heard me talk about this before, and we're hammering our Department of Transportation, that's in the bill, so I can say it, with all kinds of reductions, whether they be fees or whatever, taxes. And we're losing about $400 million a year. That was 4 or 5 years ago that we were losing that much on the highway system. I use a highway system. These folks that build these, they're little sheds, they manufacture them, and then they haul them down the highway. They're oversized, so they need a permit. They need good highways too. I think all of us probably should be paying for the road damage we create, at least to some extent, as much as we can. And they indicated that they can, and they're willing to pay what they've been paying. This bill doesn't include all the costs. I don't know if we included the reductions, and maybe that could be an amendment for the other side to work on. But I do believe it's fair to get the money back to this department so they can continue to build good highways so we can get our products up and down the road.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Davis, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. face it, folks, if it's $400 or $1,000, we, the consumer, are going to pay it. So let's charge the $1,000 and keep our highway department in better shape.
Thank you, Representative. Any other representatives for their first time? First time? Second time? No one for their second time? Representative Provenza, second time, bring us home.
I'm just going to leave you with the words of my good desk mate. Thank you. Please vote aye.
Members, you're being asked to make a decision on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 132. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has not been adopted. House Bill 132, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown? Gary? Brown Landon, excused. Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused.
House Bill 100 and, excuse me. Okay, there it is. 132, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bill 132 has passed the House. All right, before we continue on, I see some people that have entered the chamber in the gallery that I do believe and I would like to take a moment to recognize. I see multiple people from Weston County that are here to give their testimony on a piece of legislation that has been very important to these people. And I would just really love to have you guys stand up and take a good look at some patriots from my part of the country. I can see Trish, I can see Danny Bow in the west, I see Carl, I see Pastor Mick Bohm, Tom Wing, and I've got also up here on my right-hand side to the north, Mr. Dan Fouch. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome these folks to the Wyoming House of Representatives. Thank you, folks, for being here, and I look forward to working with you here at the noontime at corporations on your legislation. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the House. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 148. Chief Clerk, Reading Clerk.
House Bill 148, sponsored by Representative Rodriguez Williams, University of Wyoming Governance, Elected Trustees, an act relating to the University of Wyoming Board of Trustees, being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Brown, Landon. Do we have someone else that's going to carry for this amendment? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, Representative Yen.
I'd move to carry this bill over one extra day.
Hearing no objection, we will carry this bill 148 forward one day. Any objections? Seeing none. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 183.
House Bill 183, sponsored by Representative Heiner. Net metering amendments, an act relating to electric utilities being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Heiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring and I move House third reading amendment to House Bill 183, Amendment Number 1, and ask for your favorable consideration. Members, hearing some of the concerns from the utilities, we had a discussion with the State Department that oversees our electricity regulation, and hopefully we come to a way to alleviate some of those concerns. With this net metering bill, it will allow some of those solar panels to be larger and produce more energy. And so there may be situations where that would create a burden on the utility for different aspects. So this allows the utility for those larger net metering systems to charge a higher base fee if it is first approved by our public department that serves our interests overseeing the electricity. So what it does is it says, unless a customer generator is operating a net metering system with a generating capacity over 25 kilowatts, and the commission approves the fee, then they can adjust that fee up. So if you remember I don't know how many of you look at your utility bills when you get it every month, but there's a base fee. Mine is $20. And then they add a fee for energy, a fee for demand, a fee for alternative energy, a fee for carbon capture and storage, which, thank you legislators, we caused that with our bill a couple of years ago. And then there's all these other fees. But that base fee is to cover the cost of maintaining your system. And with a bigger net metering system, there is a possibility they need a little bit more money. So this allows that. But there's a check and balance that our public service, I'll call them council so I don't use their appropriate name, they will still have to approve that. Also in this amendment, we strike the part where we're requiring the utilities to report to the Public Service Council, which is actually a different name, how much net energy is being put onto their system, because they're coming out with rules as of right now that already does this. So we don't need to put it in statute. And so they said, you don't need to do this. We've already captured it in rules. So with that, members, I urge your support of this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Representative Williams, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to the bringer. This amendment is a step in the right direction and directly addresses many of the concerns that we just heard about. Support this amendment. Please vote yes.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time? Seeing none, second time? Members, you are being asked to act on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 183. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. House Bill 183 having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Angelos? Banks? Repeat. Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon, excused. Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmass? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmidt. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker. Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Johnson? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 56 aye, 4 no, 2 excused.
House Bill 183, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected to the House, House Bill 183 has passed the House. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 238.
House Bill 238, sponsored by Representative Johnson. Ballot harvesting prohibition, an act relating to elections being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
We have amendments. Representative Storer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 238 and ask for your favorable consideration. Good morning. Similar to what we did with House Bill 131, the ballot drop boxes prohibition, this amendment provides a process for a clerk to provide notice to an elector that their ballot is spoiled. It further recognizes that this could happen on Election Day, and thus it provides 1 day until the close of business on the day following the election to accept a properly delivered absentee ballot. This mirrors what Statute 22-15105D allows for a provisional ballot that has to be cured and has been challenged. So this assures that an elector's vote will be counted despite the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any for their first time? Representative Johnson for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak against this amendment. This is a sure way to change Election Day into election week. Vote no on this amendment.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, people should know if their ballot has not been tabulated. It is their right to vote. We should let them know that their ballot isn't tabulated and give them an opportunity to cast their vote. Again, it is their right. And according to Rule 12-4, I would like another recorded vote on this. Thank you.
We will need a second for that. Second, Representative Sherwood. Any others for their first time? Representative Knapp for his first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would oppose this amendment. This does open up a can of worms going past Election Day that I don't think we want to get into. I'll have an amendment coming up that will take care of that. Thank you.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Seeing none, second time. Speaking to the amendment, second time. Seeing none, back to the bringer, Representative Storer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a common sense solution to recognizing that this bill will make it harder for people to vote, provide a process where they can vote, and really doesn't put any more burden on our clerks as a result. So I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're being asked to decide on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 238. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or, oh, no, that's right, we did it 12. Thank you, Representative Provenza. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown, Gary? Brown, Landon, excused. Byron? Campbell, Elisa? Campbell, Kevin? Chestick? Clauston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Repeat? Posey? Posey? Provenza? Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker,
No.
are there any changes? Rodriguez Williams, aye to no. Thayer, aye to no. Singh, aye to no. Ottman, no. Further changes. Yin, aye to no. Further changes. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 7 aye, 53 no, 2 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 238. Next amendment for our consideration will be House third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 238. Representative Knapp.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I would move House reading, third House reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 238 and ask for your favorable consideration. This attempts to fix what we talked about. If a vote is found to be improperly placed or delivered, this is the same thing we use for ballot drop boxes. So this just says, if the ballot is improperly delivered to the county clerk in violation of this section, the county clerk may provide notice to the qualified elector that the qualified elector's ballot has not been tabulated. This does not put it past the required election date, and I think this solves the problem. So I'd ask for your favorable consideration, and I would call for Rule 12-4, recorded vote.
We'll need a second. Second by Representative Smith. Representative Provenza, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mean, I appreciate the effort to bring this amendment. The concern again, though, is a may in something that is a right. You have a right to vote. Doesn't say may vote. So the amendment doesn't actually do anything because our clerks already could do this. But it's may notify, not shall, which means that lots of people are not going to know that their ballot was not cast. That should disturb all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? First time? Second time? Back to the bringer? Nope. Do I have a representative that's trying to get to a microphone? Okay, so we're back to the bringer. Okay, we're back beyond that. Members, you're being asked to vote on third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 238. Reading clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon, excused. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Repeat. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clauston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins. Excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Wharf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker. Harshman. Excused to aye. Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 56 aye, 4 no, 2 excused.
House Bill 238, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected in the House, House Bill 238 has passed the House. That concludes our third reading, final passage. Oh, that was the amendment, sorry. Okay, no, I'm trying to speed up things and I'm not doing it well. I'm hustling right along here, but we got to do one more, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. It's good for, not right now, but later, thank you. Okay, now. Let's see. Reading clerk, please read the bill. No, not reading clerk. What am I doing? I'm completely turned around. Back on the bill. We're back on the bill. Got to go to clerk committee. Okay. Having been read 3 separate times, the question is, for me primarily, is shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk, please call the roll. Right?
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Excused. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clauston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams. Repeat. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Wharf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker. Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 52 aye, 8 no, 2 excused.
Now, House Bill 238, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bill 238 has passed the House. Okay, that is it on third reading. Mr. Yeah, literally the moment we've all been waiting for. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, a couple announcements. Please be checking your website for corrected copies or anything as they're being updated immediately. There's going to be some things moving, and we want to make sure that you're on top of this. Let me get down. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it makes this thing go a lot faster if you vote clearly and loudly when we're asked. We're going to be taking a lot of roll call votes here, so let's try to expedite this as quickly as we can. Second reading budget bill, Chief Reading Clerk, please.
House Bill 1, sponsored by Appropriations, General Government Appropriations 2, an act relating to the supplemental appropriations for the operation of state government for the fiscal biennium commencing July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2026.
We have some amendments, a few, shockingly. All right, first reading, first amendment for our consideration. Representative Schmid or Connolly? Representative Connolly, please.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and everybody in the House.
Good morning, Representative Connolly.
I move the first reading amendment to House Bill 1.
Second reading amendment.
The second reading amendment to House Bill 1 and ask for your favorable consideration.
Very good,
and,
thank you.
Yes, to consider me favorably while I'm going through this. Thank you. Okay. What this does is it gives the Search and Rescue Council some consistent funding that they need to be able to continue their operations. I have a letter of support here from the Sheriff's Association. It says over the last 5 years, they've seen steady decline in volunteer donations. While the collections have outweighed the expenditures in all but 1 year, search and rescue councils are increasingly becoming more expensive. Our counties are only one extensive search and rescue away, really serious, huge search away from depleting the entire fund. Over the years, they've also seen an increase in non-resident search and rescues. So from as far as in 225, there have been 25 reported search and rescue missions. And of those 25 missions, 17 were non-residents. And that's why the search and rescue folks felt like using some tourism dollars would be appropriate place for that to come from. Right now, it doesn't look like this would be an emergency, but what I have to say is, for example, if you take 2 big searches where a helicopter costs you at least $8,000 an hour, you get a search on the western side of the state, where a lot of these high dollar searches happen, and then you get another search in another part of the state, like where the bighorns are. The search and rescue fund has to stay at a $400,000 level. It can't go below that. So you get 2 major searches going in a year's time, that fund could be depleted down to the 400,000. Once that happens, whatever county that next search comes into, they are not going to be funded through the Search and Rescue Council, and your county will have to cover that cost because there's no place right now to backfill that additional cost of keeping that 400,000 at that level. So in my mind, it is somewhat of an emergency, even though there's funding available to the council right now. It would only take one season and maybe one search to totally deplete the account where your counties could be made whole and your search and rescue clubs and members could be reimbursed. So I will stand for any questions, and I can turn it over to my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Connolly. Any others, members for the first time? Representative Schmidt, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't repeat what my colleague said, but I just want to reiterate the facts of what our folks in the search and rescue are faced with, especially coming out of my country. We have the Wind River Mountains, the tallest mountains in the state. I don't know how many have been in those mountains, but they're extremely rugged, and people can get in there and get in trouble really fast. And we've experienced one case there, talking to our local search and rescue gentleman, that that one search alone cost over $300,000 to locate that person. And this cost is getting more and more expensive. We're getting more and more people out there on our lakes and rivers and mountains. And this is just an avenue to try to help these people along to where they don't get below that $400,000 threshold that my colleague spoke about, until we find a better solution to take care of this issue. I know there's a better solution out there, but we haven't found it yet, but there are some ideas floating around. But I would really urge your support in this effort to support these folks that are all volunteer. There's no wages involved here. It's all volunteer time, and they need a little bit of help and a little bit of, and I think they deserve it. So I urge you to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative, do you want probes closed? Representative Smith, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think there's any disagreement with the good cause of this. I would just push back a little bit that it was not a request for this supplemental budget, so that would be one statement. I do appreciate the volunteers and all the hard work of the individuals that do this. I've myself for a time volunteered with my county search and rescue, and basically all the fuel, all my time, even my own side-by-side was out of my own pocket, and I think the volunteers know and recognize that as well. So let's just delay it for a little bit of time and come back at another appropriate time. Thank you.
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was the fortunate recipient of one of these searches 8 years ago, where I laid on the side of the mountain after a snowmobile accident. And I can guarantee you, without the support of the especially Teton County Search and Rescue that came down into Lincoln County there in rescue, without the determination of these individuals and the financial ability that they had through the funds that we provide, as well as some of the donations that we make on our hunting licenses, I would not be standing here today. And I know these people. I'm around them a lot of the time. These people in all of our communities go above and beyond and need our support. So however we can do that, that's something that's very important that we do. And so I would strongly urge a positive vote on this.
Any other members? Representative Eklund, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, I too would support this amendment, and unlike the previous speaker, I've not been a recipient of the services, but once upon a time, while I was not long ago fishing well within 100 miles of here, my grandson, who was 3, disappeared. And you can't imagine what a terrifying deal that is. You are in the mountains, become ominous and huge. And we had 10 people looking just with the campers we were with. And it's kind of scary. We were ready to call in a helicopter. Didn't do it, found him in time, but most of us don't have those 3-year-olds on leashes. So it isn't just out-of-staters. And we have remote and rugged areas in every county.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Banks for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in support of the amendment, I think it's an important distinction that these dollars come from the tourism account. Up in my neck of woods, that's the majority of the people that we're out looking for. I guess with the exception of my good friend from the Valley of the Stars there. But we see more and more people visiting, especially my area of the state. And as those numbers increase, I just think that these searches are going to increase more. And I think that our counties are going to need some help when it comes to that. So I think the important distinction, this comes from the tourism account into our Search and Rescue Council is a favorable move, and I'd be supportive of this.
Representative Sherwood, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a challenging issue for me to speak on because on the surface, I agree with the purpose and the intent, and I want to honor the folks that are out there doing this incredibly hard work on behalf of our loved ones. But because I'm appropriator, I have to go with the data. And the letter that we got from the Sheriff's Department says that 37% of the rescues were done regarding people outside of the state of Wyoming. So 37% is not a majority. So the challenge I have with this ask is, again, it's a very thoughtful ask, but I don't agree with it coming out of the tourism account. I would encourage the bringers to go back and work with the sheriffs, work with search and rescue, get more data, and come back with an alternative funding mechanism. Thank you.
Representative Wiley for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, good morning.
Representative Wiley.
I just want to be on in support of this. Not too long ago in my county, we had a very valiant effort into finding an individual that had crashed an airplane. And there was a lot of community support. People got together, a lot of donations, a lot of money come out of local pockets, right? But what this can do and what this is beneficial toward is the eyes in the sky when you need to put that up there. And that's huge, right? Because we live in this state that has vast landscapes and people few and far between. So when you need to cover a lot of ground and you need to put something in the air that costs $5,000 to $8,000 an hour, this can be a huge benefit toward on and in support.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Chestik for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in favor of this amendment. I'd just like to point out that whether you live in Wyoming or not doesn't define whether you're a tourist. If I go to the mountains in the west with sharp peaks, I'm several hundred miles away from my home. I'm a tourist, even though I live in Wyoming. So that is not impressive to me, whether the people who need the service are Wyoming residents or not. They're all tourists. A lot of them are, so I am very much in favor of this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, second time. Back to the bringer, Representative Connolly.
Thank you, everybody, for the thoughts. Just to clarify too, this funding would run right now. Homeland Security is one that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. The people that keep us secure are the ones that the people that search and rescue us, those funds run through that agency. So it's not like they're going to be going directly to a search and rescue club or something like that. So this money would be well managed, and we have folks that use their own snow machines, they use their own four-wheelers, their own mules, horses, a lot of their own equipment. And these funds would go to help buy equipment that these folks need, so they're not always using their own supplies, and they damage them a lot because wherever they're on their search is usually really rough country where most folks, a lot of them can't even get to. That's why we have all the air assets that are so important to search and rescue, and that's where the big cost is. So I would just appreciate your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you are being asked to decide on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill number 1. This is a roll call. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown, Gary? Brown, Landon? Excused. Byron? Campbell, Elisa? Campbell, Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker? Are there any changes? Guggenmoss? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 22 aye, 38 no, 2 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill number 1. Next amendment for our consideration, number 2, Representative Chestick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill number 1. The purpose of this amendment is to simply restore the appropriation to the Wyoming Innovation Partnership to the governor's original request. So the Wyoming Innovation Partnership is a public-private partnership to develop Wyoming's workforce for Wyoming's future, while also supporting our legacy industries. WIP works with all of our institutions of higher education throughout the state, including the Good University over the hill, as well as every one of the community colleges. Wyoming Innovation Partnership will support economic growth and diversification and build a highly skilled, ambitious, and qualified workforce by linking community goals with the state's economic strategy. This partnership is data-driven to ensure a return on investment for the people of Wyoming. Among the funded initiatives is a first-year nuclear technology program at the community college in the western part of the state, which was identified by our chief executive as critical for the future. We all know what's going in over there, and we need to support the new projects, new energy projects going on over in that part of the state. To date, WIP has supported 52 programs across all 8 community colleges, University of Wyoming, the University across the hill, and various other state agencies. The governor's efforts to improve college education and career technical training has already resulted in a ready workforce for our state. However, this cut that's been proposed in the budget, which I'm trying to restore, is needed to transition to the final industry-supported program. This is a one-time ask. This is the phase 3, the final phase of this WIP. Once this is fully funded, the hope is that private industries will take over the funding for future training. So this is a one-time request, simply restoring it back to the original request of the governor. It's not funding this fully, I think, is short-sighted. The return on investment of this program has been phenomenal, and we need to invest in our future, and therefore I urge an aye vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Chestic. Representative Baer, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge a no vote on this amendment, and as the bringer of the amendment stated, it's hopeful. Folks, I would urge your no vote on hope and change. We denied this governor's recommendation for an additional $5 million because this program, as the bringer mentioned, has been through 2 tranches already. We're going into the 3rd, and there was an agreement that they would study their success over the next several months to determine, are they ready for this 3rd tranche of funding. That's why your JAC funded that study for the community colleges to determine, is this working? So you'll notice that in the governor's recommendation, JAC agreed to $200,000 to conduct that study. So I would ask that you hold off on the hope, and let's just see how this program is doing with the $200,000 study. I urge a no vote.
Representative, any others for their first time? Representative Larson, JT, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the good bringer of the amendment. I am on in favor of this amendment, and I would submit to the body that this is working. The college and the community I live has benefited from some of the programs that this program has funded, and one of them being a power line technology program, which is training journeyman electricians to operate on power poles around our state. There's a shortage of that across the country, and we've already started the program. It is doing great. We have enrollment and we have higher demand. The enrollment continues to increase year over year, and it will eventually pay for itself. So we are on the right trajectory, and encourage an aye vote on this amendment because the program is working.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Seeing none, second time? To the amendment bringer, Representative Chestic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just suggest that career technical education has been a high priority for this body, rightfully so. I've supported CTE, and this program is one of the ways in which we fund CTE in this state. I encourage an aye vote.
Body, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 1. All those in favor signify by saying, oh no, that's right. We got to do a roll call. So used to getting a train, you get in a groove and you kind of, yeah, okay. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestic? Clouston? Repeat. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Feiler. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. I'm sorry, repeat. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Repeat. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Larson, JT? Aye. To no, further changes. Ottman? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 15 aye, 46 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to accept second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill number 1. Representative Harshman, you have a privilege.
Mr. Speaker, privilege of the floor.
Please.
Members, if here in the West Gallery behind us, got some folks from County Number 1. That's Natrona County, number 1 on our license plates, and certainly number 1 in our heart. Now, these folks, they've got their children with them, and they are on kind of a Wyoming history field trip today. And I just want to introduce them to you. So we have Josh and Megan Prop, and they have their 2 boys, Jaden and Bentley. You can wave at us. And then we have Tom and Summer Grogan and their 2 kids, Kellen and Elise. And then Grandma Grogan, Jane Grogan, a veteran 35-year teacher at PV Elementary, is with them as well. She's the supervisor today. And then Colby Frontiero and his boy Alden, and then Brody Lunsford. So give a warm welcome to the Wyoming House.
Welcome to the House, and if you want a real tour, I mean, beyond the 2-bit tour, you need to enlist Representative Harshman, because he will give you the history of this building, and he'll show you the spindles and the way they've been upside down and everything else. And the Roosevelt balcony. It would be a nice thing for you to go show them too. So thank you for being here, and welcome to the House. Enjoy our history. Representative Larson, Lloyd.
We ready to move on?
Let's say you ready to go. Second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill number 1. Representative Larson, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 1. Folks, in the budget in the governor's office, there was a request for $2.5 million for the adjudication and protection of our state's water rights, which is a pretty big deal right now going on. And when we heard the testimony on that, what they're really wanting to have the flexibility to do is purchase acquisition of data, use it for funding modeling and other scientific data to support the efforts, the legal supports needed when it goes to litigation. The JAC adopted the appropriation, the 2.5, but then they added a footnote 15. This amendment would remove 15, and what that footnote done was made the language and the use of those funds very restrictive, just for appropriate for legal counsel only. And the intent and the request for this was to be broader than that, to help gather the data that would help support the legal arguments on that. And so that's all this amendment does. It doesn't, the appropriation stays in place, it's just how they can use it.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Harrelson, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on and against this amendment, if we were to put this into place and delete this footnote number 15, there would be up to 10% of these funds could be used throughout the division in any way they see fit. It really truly opens the sideboards and gives leeway and a kind of a free run on this money in a way. And so we want to contract for legal counsel. We want to be able to fight the battles that we have coming down the pike. And we believe that prescriptive language in this case is warranted and just bears something to be considered.
Thank you, Representative. Others for their first time. Representative Chestick for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in favor of this amendment. You can debate the merits of a lawsuit or not. I think protecting water rights is very important to us. We probably need to fight battles to protect our water. But if you're going to fight a battle, a legal battle, you got to fight it to win. And you can't win without evidence. A lawyer who goes in to try a case and doesn't have any evidence to present is not going to win. So this amendment would allow for expert witnesses and other studies and evidence gathering things that aren't technically legal fees. And therefore, this would allow the lawyer who we will hire to protect our water rights to gather the evidence and present a case that can possibly win. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Yin for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So if we are sending soldiers into battle, right? So we want to protect our rights. We want to hire those attorneys to send those, I mean, I would call them soldiers, to battle for us. We need to equip them with ammunition. If they go into battle without any ammunition, they're going to lose, right? So just think about that. We need to make sure that we equip them with all the resources that they need to make sure that our water rights in Wyoming are protected. So on and for the amendment.
Representative Connolly for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ran on protecting Wyoming's water, keeping it sovereign. In my mind, growing up on a ranch, the water that we had adjudicated to us was very, very important. I believe water is like gold to this state. And I would like to see this amendment passed because I think we got to have the information for the attorneys to actually fight to help Wyoming keep their water. And they need the ability to have a little broader range of what needs to happen, when it needs to happen. So I hope you vote in favor of gold because that's what this is. Thank you.
Representative Geringer for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, on and for the amendment, I would agree. We have to do everything we can to protect our water rights here. I guess I would wonder if we're just talking about this fear of 10%, up to 10% being reallocated in the office of the executive. Is that a reality, though? I mean, have we heard that for sure? I guess we need the flexibility that the chief executive can use this money in the way that it needs to be used and not micromanage these ghostly fears, I guess, in this case. So on and for the amendment.
Representative Davis for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment. You know, being a little bit involved in this, if you think about going down to the lower basin states on our particular side of the state, they're gunning for us and they are manned up. And by restricting these funds, we don't know where our investigation is going to go, what information we need. So we need to have the flexibility to follow what we need to do to prepare ourselves for this up and coming battle. And believe me, it's coming. So on and in favor of it.
Representative Baer for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to push back on a couple of the previous speakers. Folks, it is our job to control the purse strings. So to give the executive more latitude, we must be cautious about that. Eliminating this footnote is throwing caution to the wind. If you care about our water rights and consider it gold, which I agree with that statement, then you'll want this amendment and this footnote, the amendment defeated in the footnote to remain, because now we're going to ensure that it stays in this agency, this department, and is used for the very purpose that we appropriated it for. So on and against the amendment.
Representative Wiley.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Our water's precious, water is life. Anything that we can do to advocate for it, we need to put our knife in the ground, because once we lose it, we're not going to get it back. So this is no place to be tit for tatting on where these allocations should be. We should be fully in support of this, on in favor of the amendment.
Excuse me. No, there it
Bless
is.
you.
It's back. Thank you. Representative Nicholas, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in favor of this amendment, ladies and gentlemen, we had specific testimony before the Appropriations Committee, both in the spring and in the summer. We were kind of keeping a running tally on how much money was needed and what it was needing for and how to get money to fund this study. It's absolutely essential for us that this takes place. So on and in favor.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Thayer, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for this agreement, as the others, good representatives spoke, we have talked, this body, about taking care of our own, making sure that we have for our legacies. And this is taking care of our ag business, this is taking care of industry, on and for this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Representative Ottman, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If one of the amendment sponsors could please say why it wasn't in the governor's supplemental, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Any others for their first time? First time, second time? Seeing no one second time, back to the bringer. Representative Larson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and maybe to the good representative that just spoke, it was in the governor's supplemental budget request in his agency on page 39. Folks, I can kind of give you an example of where this has bit us in the hind end previously, and we've mentioned our coal litigation funds that we had in place, that we put in place for a couple of years, and that it's slowly been depleted, and we finally were able to get it out to benefit in protecting the ability to use our resources in this state and to generate electricity with it. One of the problems, and we've got another amendment to fix that, is the language that we put in the bill really was interpreted to restrict what we could do with that money just for legal counsel. And to the good attorney from across the mountain's point, there was a lot of research, as we had a variety of states that to the north of, two of them to the north of us and a couple of the south, and then those who are using our wonderful Wyoming coal to generate electricity, in trying to put a lawsuit together to push back against the utilities that wanted to retire that generation prematurely. Well, we needed to get together, we needed to get the data together and to correlate all that data, and we needed to get that research done. And it was argued that using that money, that's what we wanted to use it for, was an inappropriate use, that it could only be used to defend by in legal counsel. And it we finally got around that. We're going to adjust that language too. But here's the same problem, is we need the information, the data, the evidence to support the state's position on these adjudication cases. That's what this funding is allowed to do. We're not throwing any caution to the wind here at all. The governor, the chief executive in his request says that it's to expressly for the purpose of ensuring that Wyoming has the means of protecting and adjudicating interstate water rights through the acquisition of data, modeling, and other scientific means and advocacy as necessary. I just want to be able to use all the resources we can to defend our water rights, and hope that you would support this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill number 1. This is not a recorded vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has been adopted. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. Okay, you may be seated. All those opposed, please stand. Thank you. The amendment has not been adopted, 27 to 32. Next amendment for our consideration, House Bill number 1, Amendment number 4. Representative Yin.
Members, Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move committee, I move.
Don't join my club, Representative
Everyone, happens to everyone, so. I move second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 1 and ask for your favorable consideration, corrected copy. So members, before you have an amendment that appropriates money towards upgrading the computer system for the chief business officer, I guess I would call him, for the state of Wyoming. What we heard, I think, a while ago was that this was something that was requested by that office to make sure that we could get through business filings as efficiently as possible. I think this is extremely important to make sure that we support our small businesses, but not just support the businesses that are in the state, but support all of the funding that comes in our state using our filing system. So extremely important. I want to support all the business activity that we have in the state of Wyoming. And so I bring before you this amendment. And this is a agency that brings in quite a bit of revenue, and I think it's worthwhile to make that as efficient as possible to make sure we can get those wheels moving as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Pendergraft for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'm asking you to resist this as it's a brilliant idea. I know it's brilliant because it's the same idea that I had, and I went to the Secretary of State and I said, hey, why don't we get you that software that you didn't get before? And he said, that would be great, except it's no longer available in the form that we need it. And he said, by the time we could get it and we got the deal all done and get it back, we're going to be way up in the weeds and over our heads. He says, what we need now is people. He said, we can make this work with a couple of people. The software is too little, too late. So I'd ask you to resist this amendment. It's basically throwing good money after bad.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time, second time? So first time. Representative Nicholas, please.
Thank you. On and in favor of this amendment, ladies and gentlemen, we specifically, on 2 different occasions, asked the good secretary if he could still do this. And the answer was yes. It was more of a position that he would rather have the 3 citizens than this particular program. And the explanation that was just provided in the previous speaker Not a word of that was espoused, at least by mid of December of last year. So on and in favor of the amendment.
Any other members for their first time? Seeing none, first time? Nope. Representative Lucas for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm looking at the supplemental budget, and I don't see a request for that software here for that department. I spoke with the chief of that department yesterday, and he was not in favor of this money, so I'm not sure why we want to give it to him. On and against.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? First time, seeing none, second time. To the bringer, Representative Yin.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So members, this was a request, as you heard from a former appropriator. It did come in during the year. They did talk about it during Committee Number 2's joint discussions with all of the agencies. So, and I heard from one of the good appropriators saying that, you know, we should just hire more people. Why would we hire more people? Because that's going to be an ongoing expense. To make sure that we do those efficiently with people, that means we're actually doing it less efficiently because we're hiring people to do it rather than automating it with the filing system that the way we should. This amendment here makes it so we can deal with this without hiring extra people, so we don't have that ongoing expense of FTEs. On in support of the amendment, please vote aye.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill number 1. All those in favor signify by saying, oh, that's right, we got to do the roll call. I'm trying so hard to make this go faster, but Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Repeat? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strzok? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Speaker? Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 10 aye, 51 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 1. Next amendment for our consideration, second reading amendment number 5. Representative Lucas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 5 to House Bill 1, and I ask for your favorable consideration. Let's continue talking about the same department. This amendment is requesting an addition of 2 staff members to that good department, the second, well, it's Department 3, They had originally asked for 3, saying that the business end of that department is overloaded with requests for the work that they do. And so we're asking for 2 positions, and one of them is $115,837,000 as an FTE, and the other one is $107,294, for a total of $223,131, which is a very modest amount by comparison to some of these requests we're seeing today. The business area of this agency has been in business for 5 years, and over that 5 years, they have earned over $176 million, processing almost 2.2 million filings. They've increased year over year not less than 16% in income, and their highest increase year over year was almost 21%. Without these positions, they won't be able to keep up with the fast pace of the filings, and we will see that their earnings will slow down. At this, I would stand for questions and really hope you'll consider this vote.
Thank you, representatives. Representative Harrelson for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for this amendment, we do believe this will help offset some of the strain that this department is feeling, and as the request originally was for 3 positions, this is 2 of those 3 and would fill 2 of those 3. So feel this is an adequate ask and something we can do for this department.
Any others for their first time? Representative Kelly for his first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment, this may be the only spending request that I'm in favor of. Sometimes we conflate the terms invest and spend, and this is not spending money. This is putting out money to make sure we get a lot more back in return. This is a contending industry, believe it or not, and currently there's a state that is one of our top competitors who is losing some really large clients. So a matter of keeping our customer service top notch will help keep this rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kelly. Representative Yin for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, members, I guess I'm confused. So did we actually want to invest, or are we going to do this continual appropriation every single year for these 2 FTEs? Because these 2 FTEs are going to be permanent, right? We're not going to take them away if we put them in this budget. That's going to spend more money than the amendment that we just had. We could have just been more efficient with our money. Now we're going to be less efficient? I'm confused.
Representative Lawley for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just have a question for the good chairman of appropriations to give us a reminder of why this was taken out by the Appropriations Committee. Because, I mean, I'm concerned about our, certainly this good secretary having what he needs to do his job well. But I'm confused about why it was taken out, and I'd like to know that. Thank you.
Other members, Representative Ottman for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This has been an ongoing issue. This office, number 2, has asked for software for a couple years because of the advancement of things that are going on and what continues to go on within our state and also the nation. We're doing a wonderful job on Business Ready and tourism and all kinds of things. Everybody's all in support of that. And to say that getting software that's 2 years old already, that wouldn't be more expensive with all of the updates compared to 2 efficient people, I don't agree. So I would say aye on the amendment.
Representative Weber, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All I can say is, isn't it refreshing there's actually a department that is making more money and bringing in more revenue to cover the amount of their employees? And this is a small ask. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Representatives, first time. Representative Baer, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to get up and answer the previous question for your committee number 2 about the discussion on this issue. I will do my best to recall exactly how the conversation went, but it mirrored the debate we're having on this floor over the previous amendment and this amendment. And one of the members of JAC from the other half of the bicameral body that we have argued vehemently for the software option. I will just tell you that that very member brought this amendment in the other body. So he has changed his mind about this issue after extensive conversations with this department. And so basically it was a very close vote on which direction to support this. And I would just say on and for the amendment, especially if you're for economic development, because if you want
Mr.
businesses to
Speaker,
come
point of
here.
order.
What's your point?
So it's inappropriate to discuss or to infer what someone is doing in an amendment on the other side of the hall.
Point taken. Representative, please.
Anyway, economic development, that's what this particular department is about. And so showing them some support for these positions, I think, is appropriate. And this amendment is the appropriate methodology for showing that support.
Any other members? First time? First time? Representative Harshman.
Mr. Speaker, first for a second, thank you.
First for a second. Any other members for their first time? Moving to second time. Any other members for their second time? Representative Haroldson for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the things we did here in testimony is that one of the employees in this department is actually does software writing. And when they did not receive their software, went to work and built a hybrid program that they've been using and running and have been functioning under, which is another reason why they've pushed back on the need for software. They currently just need more hands. They need more people to do this. So I think kind of a cool testimony to the ingenuity of the department to write some coding and to build their own program to be able to process through this and fulfill the need where it needed. But now they just need some more bodies.
Thank you, Representative. Any other representatives for the second time? Second time? Seeing none, back to the bringer. Representative Lucas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to reiterate, if we were running a business here, we would want it to perform financially like this division of this agency is performing. Their results have been outstanding in terms of financial gains with minimal investment, and they're on a track to continue to do so. And we don't have a whole lot of divisions that are doing this kind of performance. So I say that it's not a heavy lift to provide 2 needed people who will help, their positions will pay for themselves, and I think that this division has proven that that's the case. I encourage you to vote for this.
Representative Harshman, I quit with the bringer of the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I would just ask for your grace on this. It is not a rule, it's tradition, I agree.
Okay.
But I just had a little data for the members on this. That's all it is. I'm not going to go for or against.
Please proceed.
Members, just for this section 2, this agency number 2 of our budget, just look at staffing levels historically. 1995, there were 22 employees. 2005, there were 26. 10 years later, in 2015, there were 32 employees. And today, there are 31. So with this amendment, this will move this agency to the all-time high in the last 30 years of employees. Gone from 22 to 26 to 32, and this will take us to 33. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representatives, you are voting on second reading amendment number 5 to House Bill number 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh my goodness. Chief Clerk.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown, Gary? Brown, Landon? Byron? Campbell, Elisa? Campbell, Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Repeat? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Brady? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 47 aye, 14 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have adopted second reading amendment number 2 to second reading amendment number 5 to House Bill number 1. Okay, and then one other announcement they wanted me to make here. Please project your voice when you're giving your vote. It is very hard to hear, and sometimes people are struggling with some of their coughing and things like that, and there's some discussion up here. Please project your vote so the chief clerk can hear that and that we don't have to ask multiple times. Next one for our consideration, amendment number 6. Representative Yin. Oh.
Mr. Speaker, I move second reading amendment number 6 to House Bill 1 and ask for your favorable considerations. So members, these positions that were cut out from the recommendations from our chief executive are about taking care of our properties that we've newly purchased. So we've newly purchased properties in Riverton, in Cheyenne, and so how do we make sure that we take care of them, I think is really important, especially given that we have properties where people interact with the public, and if the public comes and sees our properties run down, not taken care of, especially right when we get them, I think it sends a very bad signal for the state of our state, frankly. So when we take on new properties, we should also make sure that we take care of them, and that's what this amendment is doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Smith, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge a no vote, and the different agencies have the option of contractual services. So the buildings won't look all dilapidated. They'll still be taken care of. Thank you.
Representative Larson Lloyd, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think if you read in the narrative that the agency requested, they were contemplating using contractual services in Riverton for that square footage, and the request for janitorial services or janitorial help, and the tradesmen were here in Cheyenne. And so if we take away the ability and try to do everything with contractual, we just don't have the funds to allow them to do that. It's spread across too big a geographic area. So what we've done, and just, you know, we just purchased 60,000 square feet plus some little, we heard from our good committee number 2, that also included a couple of houses here by the Capitol, but, and then I think 33,000 square feet in Riverton and 60,000 square feet just downtown here. That's about the size of the Supreme Court building. That's where we've been leasing that now since we moved out of the Capitol and the Hirschler when we redone these buildings. That property came available. It was cheaper, the return on investment, it was cheaper to buy the building. We got it at a very good price than it was to continue on with the lease. Well, okay, now we own it. We got to take care of it. And so when we asked the question about that in the committee of the whole, committee number 2 suggested that they have enough janitorial staff now to cover that. Fair point. So I reached out to the agency and they said, where? Where do we have extra janitorial staff? You see what they're doing at the Capitol. You see what they're doing every place else. We do not have extra staff. And the request we made was commensurate with what staff we use at the Supreme Court building to keep it, you know, those 3 positions for janitorial services. Then they point out that the square footage, so in our buildings, we have to have people that can maintain above the janitorial stuff. They have to be able to, we have plumbers and electricians and HVAC people to do the routine maintenance and to prevent any major maintenance stuff that goes on. We've increased the square footage by 31%. I'm going to get that right numbers. We've increased that by 31% since 2010, and haven't added any staffing, and that doesn't include this other 60,000 square feet. And so, as these tradesmen, which indeed do go from facility to facility to facility to operate and maintain, that they're short. And so janitorial and then some tradesmen, you know, and one, I know it's a small thing, but then it also accounts for toilet paper, things like that, and now we generate enough paper, that's a thought, that we could hear, but may not be what they would deem appropriate. But all the things that go with now owning a building, we have responsibility for, and that's maintaining it and cleaning it. And they've adjusted accordingly, and would ask that you support this amendment and put that funding back in.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Provenza for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another consideration with this is that these folks deal with snow removal, and at our facilities, we need to make sure that people aren't slipping and falling, and we are not getting sued. So that's a consideration and something that we need to uphold. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Nicholas for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In favor of the amendment. So we just brought on the new Riverton office building. That's a 3-story building, full basement, 2 up, and then 2 floors up on first floor, second floor. And the building where our environmental services are done with our DEQ. We took over the care of the buildings, and so now we have to take care of them. We knew when we purchased the buildings that we were going to have to increase our janitorial care and services care in order to maintain these buildings, and it was part of the evaluation when we determined it was cost effective to buy these buildings. So the cat's already out of the bag. We have the buildings, now we have to take care of them. And you know, we talk about major maintenance, we talk about routine maintenance and all the things we have to do to maintain the buildings so that we maintain their value. This is essential as part of that requirement. So I'm in favor of the positions.
Thank you, Representative Nicholas. Representative Strzok for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So I'm on and against, but I just have something I want to bring up and something to think about. I realize that these do need taken care of. We've bought them. But this is something I would really like the body to think about for future. We have an inmate work crew, and it's a crew of inmates used to work outside the jail. It's called an inmate work crew. And these inmates are assigned to work details for public entities or community service projects. Maybe this is something we need to look to, where just something to give you guys something to think about. Thank you.
Representative Bear for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First for a second.
For a second, any other members for their first time? First time? Seeing none? Second time? Representative Yin, second time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So, I mean, you interact with our hardworking janitorial staff that deal with us in the Capitol. We even make them stay late, right? Like, we're here late. They can't actually clean this floor until we're gone. If we start contracting out that work, we are risking making sure that these brand new properties that we buy deteriorate faster. So not only is it custodial, it's services, so like HVAC, like carpentry, and those have to be senior folks who know what they're doing because we're dealing with brand new buildings. I would push back that we shouldn't put that in inmate labor. Those are things that we need to take care of. And if we don't do it, it's going to cost us more down the road. So I want to support our janitorial staff, but that means making sure that we do it efficiently and make sure that we have staff that can take care of all of our buildings between Cheyenne and Riverton, right? So having contract labor do both of those, as we heard from the previous appropriators, is actually less efficient and more costly. So on and for the amendment.
No other members for their second time? He was the sponsor, that's why I didn't know if Representative Bear, if you're done. I went to the amendment sponsor. Okay. Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 6 to House Bill number 1. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown, Gary? Brown, Landon? Byron? Campbell, Elisa? Campbell, Kevin? Chestick? Clauston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Repeat? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strzok? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 19 aye, 42 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 6 to House Bill number 1. Next amendment for our consideration, amendment number 7 to House Bill 1, Representative Larson Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move second reading amendment number 7 to House Bill 1. Folks, this is in the Attorney General's office, where the Attorney General currently has 2 attorneys that take care of our Federal Natural Resource Act litigations and reviews and legal matters. And this is a request that she made to increase the number of those attorneys handling those FNRPA accounts or those FNRPA responsibilities by 2 additional. The basis for her request was in 2005 when right after this, the creation of the FNRPA, they handled a handful of cases. These 2 attorneys were kind of assigned, they handled a few cases. 10 years later, in 2015, that had grown to about 24. And in 8 years later, that's grown to 40. That's in 2023. Now, we as a body have elected to not only defend the state against the federal overreach on natural resource rules and lawsuits by the federal agencies, but we've also elected to defend our counties. And you've seen that last year in the Rock Springs RMP and the Buffalo RMP, and we have a couple more headed this way that encompasses that. There is some suggestion that through the Natural Resource Litigation Fund that the governor requested, of which I think we're funding $3.9 million, that we want to do all of this litigation through outsourced legal counsel. The intent, I would share with you, for being able to have those special litigation funds is when you have those unusual, complex cases that you may want to join other states on that require some outside legal counsel. But these FNRPA cases don't always meet that level of need. We have increasingly seen the federal land, water, air, mineral, and other resource policy which are implementing rules that we have to define and push back on. If we go solely to outside counsel, then there still has to be coordination of that counsel within the AG's office, which is still going to require additional help to get this done. So that's the amendment, is to put those back in, and would ask for your support to defend ourselves against the federal overreach.
Thank you, Representative Larson. Any other members for their first time? Seeing none. Second time? Oh. Seeing none. Representative Bear, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would resist this amendment. You know, the debate has already been had, but I would just say that we have a way of addressing this in a way that the state can really be a leader in this area of defending our natural resources. So I don't believe this is the way to do that. On and against the amendment.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time, Representative Washut, Chairman Washut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When we look at these cases, there's a lot of work that has to be done, even in deciding, is the case worth litigating? And you're not going to push that work off onto a contract legal firm without spending a tremendous amount of money, only to be told, no, this case isn't worth pursuing. So having inside legal talent gives the agency, gives the office the legal talent they need to evaluate these cases, determine which ones are at that level that these outside firms can do their best work and represent the people of Wyoming and the needs of this state well, and which cases might be better handled with inside talent. And So there's preparation work, there's research work, and there are just cases that are of that level that don't need the big top dog firms to handle that litigation. This is a reasonable request.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Davis for your first time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, our cooperating agencies rely upon the AG here as they're going forth, you know, to get the money, to help organize their objections and writing against all of these overreaches from the federal government. So we need to have that organization here at the state level in order to support our agencies out there that are doing the hard work and gathering the information to support these lawsuits. On and for it.
Thank you, Representative. Any others? Seeing none, second time, Representative Larson.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Some really good points that I think were brought up. And when we talk about top-notch legal firms, we have one here in our AG's office. And it's interesting, over the last couple of years, last 4 years, when we've just seen this inundation of challenges to states' rights and our primacy rules, our RMPs, there's been some criticism. Well, why doesn't our AG get involved with this? Why are we letting the state way to the east do this? Why didn't we lead on this? And what's interesting is our states talk to each other. And our states, by virtue of the industries within their states, have developed expertise. Now, on coal litigation, things that are related to that state that might be west of Virginia has incredible expertise, and they generally lead the fight on that. Air quality, right here in the Cowboy State, and we lead those fights. And those states, those attorneys general, work with each other and kind of have those conversations. But in-house staffing to maintain that, particularly on this FNRPA stuff, is very important. This isn't a time, this isn't where you pinch pennies in my opinion, and hope that you would give her the resources she needs to defend us.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Bear is asked to be able to come in, and I know we're out of step here, but I did this for Representative Harshman on a previous amendment, and he has some data. Hold it to data only, like Representative Harshman did. I will allow you to forward that data.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do beg leave of the bringer of the amendment for this. I was busy getting this data for the body, and I think it's important data for your vote. I just found out that this agency has 5 vacancies that could be attorneys, so just 5 vacancies in the agency at this point.
Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 7 to House Bill 1. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Clouston? Connolly? I'm sorry. Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund? Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lolly? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker?
No.
Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Larson, JT, aye. To no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 18 aye, 43 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 7 to House Bill 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to make one announcement here. The deadline for third readings is by the end of second reading. So if you've got some third reading amendments that you're wanting to bring, you must have them done and into the bullpen by the end of second reading today. So we're going to try to do one more amendment, and then we'll try to break for lunch in here. So next amendment for our consideration is amendment number 8. Representative Winter, please. Microphone. There you go. Thank you, sir.
I move standing committee, no, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I move second reading amendment number 8 to House Bill 1 and ask for your favorable consideration.
And also, members, just, I don't mean to interrupt Chairman Winter, but this is the corrected copy, so make sure you have the right one, ladies and gentlemen. There is a corrected copy that he's working on here, so please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would call your attention to the handout that I was provided to you this morning. There's 2 handouts here, one of a tree with some inscriptions on it, and a history there of this tree. This amendment, or the purpose of this amendment, is to appropriate $35,000 for the purpose of retrieving, developing, and curating a display for the 1893 Yellowstone Forest Reserve Survey Party tree inscription from the Shoshone National Forest. There was a mistake discovered this morning. The amendment says 1883, and it should be 1893. So I just want to express the fact that this is really an important effort for the history of Wyoming. This tree that's up there, I've been around it a couple times. I've never been right to it, but it's in the high country. It's about 28 miles horseback up the Shoshone River, the South Fork of the Shoshone River. And we've requested that this money and we've gotten approval to take a helicopter in there and a chainsaw to get it taken care of, get it out of there. And just so you know, there's a local outfitter that is willing to help anybody that wants to go up there and help with that effort. So please vote aye. Thank you.
Any other members for their first time? Representative Harshman for his first time, please.
Mr. Speaker, just on and in support of the amendment, I think it's just a great amendment and appreciate the good representative from Hot Springs County and appreciate your handouts and so urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Representative Haroldson for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So as I've heard about this and read on this and seen this, obviously we've got 28 miles up a canyon. We have a tree that has been a survey marker for a couple hundred years. I do believe that this tree is not an alive tree. It has, but I also believe one more season's probably not going to put this tree into a position or a place where we lose it. So my attitude is this: if this is something that this department is interested in bringing off the mountain, it's something they can put into their general budget, and we'll make that reality come up next time. I mean, it's $35,000 to bring a tree off the mountain, and like I said, I'm not. In essence, I'm not opposed to the concept. I just don't know if it's something we need to bring at this point in time and have a discussion on this budget. So I would be on and against it now. Hopefully next year we bring this in as something in our budget, and I think it'd be sweet if I could even be part of the team going up in there to get it down. So,
Representative Heiner, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's wonderful that we try to preserve some of these things in our state that not a lot of people are aware of. Things like this, they date back to our antiquity and history. Let's preserve this, and we've got individuals that are willing to help, that it means something to them, and it's something that provides a lasting legacy for our future generations. So I'm on and for this amendment.
Representative Eklund for your first time, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I'm on and for it as well. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but I expect that our number 2 industry will overtake our number 1 industry at some point in time, and this is part of it. And we have enough forest fires and fires around that we probably better get it out of there quick. And I applaud the bringer for bringing it to our attention. I had no idea it was there. It is really cool.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Brown for your first time. Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, on and for this amendment, and a couple of things. The good representative from Northern Laramie County here just kind of stole the words right out of my mouth about the amount of fire danger that we've had over the past couple of years, and especially this past year. It's high time we take care of this. And so while I severely recognize that one year might not cause us an issue, and I continue to hear that this budget is supposed to be for emergencies, I want to remind this body that this budget is a supplemental budget. That means in addition to, not emergency only. We have things and we are the appropriators. This body gets to make those decisions. The chief executive downstairs makes his recommendations, but it's our job, ladies and gentlemen, to take care of this state. And this is a really, really good amendment. And this is a situation where I feel like if we appropriate these funds, we can save a little piece of history and we can keep that piece of history intact as opposed to potentially losing it next year. So on and for.
Representative Yin for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So I do like the idea of preserving history. I'm curious, because it is in a federal forest, what do we have to obtain permission? I mean, I'm probably going to vote aye because I think allocating the money in case we are able to do this is great. But what is the process of taking down this tree and moving it?
Representative Pendergraft, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment, I think this would make a terrific standalone bill. It just seems like whenever we fail to get something done that way, we just try to tack it onto a budget somewhere. And I don't believe that's the way that this ought to be legislated. And I would just ask, is it absolutely necessary to use a helicopter? I've been in that country, and it's rough country. But I'm thinking maybe a string of Mammoth Jacks.
Representative Larson Lloyd, first time.
So I'm aware that the presenter of this amendment, the sponsor of this amendment, has probably more experience and time in that country than the rest of us put together. Watching his votes over this session would not suggest that he's a spend and carry guy, that he just is out there to break the state. I mean, 35 grand may be on the border of doing it, I understand. But we also have a responsibility to preserve our past. That is such a cool thing. And it could be gone tomorrow. And why would we wait? Why just for the sakes of political posturing and defending, why don't we just pick him up and carry him off the floor for lunch and feed him and say, way to go? That's what we ought to be doing. Me and the guy over there that chairs transportation. I'm in support of this. Let's get it done.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time, second time. Representative Harshman, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate the debate. And members, particularly new members, when you see the good members of committee number 2, they're doing their job. I mean, they're going to get up and oppose us and oppose us and oppose us, and they should. That's what they do. They brought this bill to us on the floor, and they want to keep this thing with no amendments. And I applaud that. It's not easy to get up and probably argue against what might be the best amendment of the day. And in my humble opinion, Mr. Speaker, having served 10 years on that committee, and so I appreciate the process. But members, in the end, it's our budget. And I just really appreciate the amendment. And really, I mean, I learned it today. I didn't know it was, I mean, and it's really about, for all these kids here, it's about our history. It's before statehood. This is so amazing. So really appreciate you bringing it. And it's a small little price for us to invest in the history of our state. So on and for. Thank you.
Any other representatives for their second time? Second time? Seeing none, back to the bringer. Chairman Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I should say that a senator from the Little Snake River country has started this whole effort, and I want to congratulate him on that. But folks, this is an emergency. This tree has survived beetle kill and a fire so far, and we need to get it taken care of. And I just had an offer from one of our esteemed representatives here to offer Mammoth Jacks to go get it if necessary. So thank you.
Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 8 to House Bill number 1. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown? Gary? Brown, Landon. Byron. Campbell, Elisa. Campbell, Kevin. Chestick. Clouston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood? Singh? Smith?
No.
Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? I'm sorry, Tarver, repeat. Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Wharf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker? Are there any changes? Stivar, no to aye. Brown, Gary, aye to no. Further changes? Locke, no to aye. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 40 aye, 21 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen to adopt second reading amendment number 8 to House Bill number 1. Congratulations, Representative Winter. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess until 2 p.m.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Committee announcements. Do we have any committee announcements? Representative Locke, Chairman, Revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 3, Revenue, will meet tomorrow morning at 7:30 in Capitol Extension Room 5. We will hear 2 bills, House Bill 328, Residential Real Property Taxable Value 2, and House Bill 130, Homeowner Tax Exemption Amendments. And we will continue at adjournment if we do not complete in the morning.
Thank you, Chairman Locke. Any other announcements, committees? Chairman Winter is going. Chairman Winter, number 5, Ag.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Ag Committee will plan to meet tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock to hear House Bill 90, or to finish that one, House Bill 243, House Bill 285, House Bill 109, House Bill 304, and if need be, we'll go after adjournment to the same, in room 3, both times. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Winter. Vice Chairman Pendergraft, number 2, Probst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2, House Appropriations, will meet upstairs, room 301. We will consider bills House Bill 274, Biological Males and Women's Sports, House Bill 101, Forest Health Grant Program 3, House Bill 292, Budget Reserves, Recommended Appropriation Amount continued from prior, and House Bill 320, Taxation and Revenue Task Force 2028 as time permits.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any others? Representative Knapp, Chairman Knapp, Committee number 7.
Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, Corporations, will meet upon recess in E005 for House Bill 249, House Bill 296, and House Bill 144. And then upon adjournment, we will hear House Bill 262 and House Bill 215.
Thank you, Representative Chairman Knapp. Any others? Seeing none. Members, you have heard the motion of the Majority Floor Leader. This House will stand in recess until 2 p.m.